Texans falling to the Chiefs 14-23. 23-14 is really the technical way that you should say it. In Arrowhead, as Kansas City now goes to their 7th straight AFC Championship game. The quest for the three-peat is very much alive, and this was kind of disappointing for the Texans. People say that the Texans played well, but I don't think that they played that well. I just don't. I want to start off the top with the horrible reffing, okay? The calls for Kansas City are getting ridiculous at this point. They've been ridiculous all season long. And knowing that this game was another example of that, I mean, people want to get out here and try to defend, oh, the defenders' helmets clanked with each other. The official was back behind him. He had to throw the flag. Okay, maybe so, but you can pick it up. You can have New York come in and say, no, that's not helmet to helmet. That was an egregious call right there. That was ridiculous. The replay clearly showed that Mahomes slid underneath and the players collided with each other. Some people, a lot of people, didn't like the pass interference call on Will Anderson. I kind of thought that was justified. Still didn't like it as well. But with Mahomes' head popping back, I kind of understand it. You have a liability as an NFL referee to throw the flag. And that I can understand. But the reffing in the game, the favoritism for the Chiefs, was just bad, man. They had to play not the Zebras, but obviously. They outgained Kansas City 336 to 212. They outpassed them 187-162. They outrushed them by 99 yards, 149 to 50. They out yards per play them by a whole yard, 5.2 to 4.2. More first downs, better on third down, 10 of 17 versus 4 of 11 for Kansas City. 65 total plays, but here's the damning thing. You allow 8 sacks. You have 8 penalties for 92 yards. You even win the time of possession battle. But when you see how the game started out for Kansas City, the last way that the Texans wanted it, the very last possible way they envisioned it / wanted this to start out, was letting Kansas City run the opening kickoff back almost. In Arrowhead, you put the crowd all the way in the game. You don't allow your fans that traveled to actually roar in the stadium. Because the red and yellow freaks are right there. They are raising it up. They are in Arrowhead. They are cheering on Kansas City. I mean, 50 rushing yards? That's pretty remarkable of the Texans defense. I will admit, the Texans defense holding Kansas City to 212 total yards. I don't know exactly how low that ranks for Kansas City, but that's got to be low, right? It's got to be very low. You don't turn the ball over at all as the Texans, and you still can't come away with it. So maybe the Texans did do a good job, defensively holding Kansas. I mean, 212 yards, that's not going to win you many, if really any playoff games. But when you let your quarterback get sacked 8 times, when you have 8 penalties for 92 yards, when you have Stephon Diggs, who's been absent all year because of, the ACL injury, when you have Tank Dell, who gets hurt in the last matchup, I want to say when they played Kansas City, and, he hurts his other leg, that's heartbreaking. That's absolutely heartbreaking. And to know that it was Nico Collins and Xavier Hutchinson and some of these other makeshift wide receivers, you have a Dalton Schultz, you have a Joe Mixon. So they did what they could, to spread the ball around. CJ Stroud, 19 of 28, 245 yards. Joe Mixon had a solid game, 5 yards a carry, 18 carries, 88 yards. But after that, it was CJ Stroud, 6 carries of 42 yards. Nico Collins, 5 catches for 81. Dalton Schultz, 4 for 63. Even Xavier Hutchinson, 4 for 52. John Mechie, 2 for 35. So they were getting some production out there, but they just weren't able to string these drives together. And I think that's a big testament to Steve Spagnuolo, right? Probably the best defensive coordinator in the league next to Vic Fangio, and rightfully so. You know what I mean? Vic Fangio is a very, very good defensive coordinator. I was baffled when the Dolphins moved off of him, and now the Eagles have the best secondary in the league, and they arguably have the best defensive line, the best pass rush in the league as well. That's just what Vic Fangio does. Travis Kelce with a very vintage game, 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. You can't say anything less about Travis. Congratulations to him and Taylor Swift getting engaged here lately as well. 16.7 yards per catch is just something that you really can't have. And I'll just come out and say this too. The Chiefs weren't good, but they played well situationally because, again, they were outgained. They were worse on third down. They lost the time of possession battle, but they got to the quarterback more, and they made less mistakes penalty-wise. And again, if you lose time of possession, that's usually pretty tough to be able to win. Usually pretty tough. But they did it. Andy Reid's a freak. Patrick Mahomes is one of the GOATs. And the Chiefs defense really kept them in this one. And that's okay to say, right? Steve Spagnuolo is great. He's probably the best defensive coordinator in the league next to Vic Fangio. And say what you want to say about Aaron Glenn, but he just gave up 45 at home. I'll say it again. He just gave up 45 at home. So shout out to the Chiefs. The three-peat is very much alive. They beat the Texans in the divisional 23-14. They're undefeated in the divisional round. They have never not went to the AFC Championship game. We're watching the dynasty continue in front of us, guys. Let's just call it what it is. You see a post from 2019 when the Chiefs are playing the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. Who does America want to win this game? Everybody wants Kansas City, besides New England. They want New England. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And that's what Kansas City now is. And that's in a good way for the fans, right? I like seeing Kansas City do what they do. Do I want them to be in another Super Bowl? No. But am I going to bitch as a fan when I watch the first ever three-peat in NFL history happen? No, because it's going to be good for the game. Now, the calls to get them there are questionable. Weirdest 15-win team I've ever seen. And Andy Reid in this game, I said it, Reid and Mahomes, they're going to break out, another 40, 50% of the playbook that they've been hiding from everybody all year because they got Hollywood Brown. They got Xavier Worthy. They've got Pacheco. They've got Mahomes. They've got Travis Kelce. But they didn't. They had 212 total yards of offense. So next week against the Bills, which we'll have the prediction on Friday, we'll see how that actually plays out.